I am really excited. We are in episode 2 of our summer-long series, After the Cap and Gown. This series is all about helping young people 18 to 24, maybe a little bit older, realize that after they get out of school, or even if they didn't go to school, they're just in that age group, what can I do to move forward? How do I find a career path? How do I kind of get my life on track? How do I overcome some of these things that so many young people today are dealing with? And as far as parents, this is also for you because you may have some questions about how do I get my son or daughter to that next level? How do I get them to feel like they're going to be successful and they can do things? So today I have another awesome guest. If you saw episode 1, you saw Giselle Rodriguez. Wonderful episode. Number 2 here is with James McLamb. And I met James about a year and a half ago, again, on LinkedIn. And I was looking for just like-minded people, different things, which is great for networking, something young people could learn to do is network. And I discovered that he does a lot of the same things that I love to do, that I'm into, and also where I would like to get one day. And he's a speaker, he's an educator, he's a John Maxwell leader, and he has this amazing summit, youth summit we're going to talk about. So I really want you to listen to this 35-minute podcast. He's going to give you so much information to help you, help your young person, and even you as a parent. So with that, I would say, James, welcome to Lead Your Teen podcast in our new series, After the Cap and Gown. It's really, really great to have you here.
Well, thank you for the invitation, and thank you for the opportunity to share with your audience.
Yeah, this is going to be nice because I want people to know more about the resources that you offer and just your background. Like, what got you into working with young people?
When I got into college, my desire was not to work with young people, but I did have a moment of reflection very early in my college career where I began to realize I'm pretty successful in some things. My grades are good, my opportunities are good, my leadership opportunities are good. How did I get here? How did I get to where I'm at right now? And there was an old saying in the area that if you ever see a turtle on top of a fence post, you know it didn't get there by itself. Somebody put it up there. And I felt like I was the same way. Somebody had put me there. And so I acknowledged and verbalized something that I had always kind of known, is that there were 4 men, teachers of mine in high school, that poured into me in such a dramatic way that they took this unsure, maybe lacking confidence freshman that came into school and saw something in him that maybe he didn't even realize himself, and gave him opportunities, gave him training, gave him support, gave him their belief, and helped me get to that. And when I began to see that and understand that and share that story with people, I began to say, that's what I want to do. I want to be that person to other young people. So I switched my major to education. I spent almost a decade in the classroom. I loved every aspect of teaching. There was a great aspect of it. I just loved the students. I loved what I was doing. My oldest daughter was born at the time my wife and I both were teaching, and my mother had carefully decided that I needed to come back and run some of my family's businesses, their things that they were doing. And so I moved out of the classroom and I moved into more speaking, youth speaking, working with youth camps, working with youth conferences, working with youth ministries and churches. And we did that for many, many years until one day I was driving in to work to head up the companies. And I was like, we've been really successful. We've done really well. We have thrived. We've grown. We've quadrupled our size. Everything's doing well. And I'm not enjoying 1 minute of it. I'm enjoying the fruits of it, yes. I'm enjoying the things that come as a result of that, but this is not who I was called to be. This is not who I'm meant to be. This is I'm having to drag myself up. And it had really come as a result of I spent a couple of weeks working with some youth at a youth leadership camp that they had asked me to come in and do some speaking there. And every morning I was getting up an hour before it was time to get up, ready for the day. Every night I was excited and could not even go to bed thinking about what I got to do the next day. And so I realized there is a difference here in who James is. The James that was at that camp is excited, is motivated, is empowered to do things. The James that is coming in this company is dragging, is waiting until the absolute last minute to get up, who's dreading every aspect of it, who's complaining about cars, pulling in front of him, everything. So I sat down with my family and said, things need to change. I need to go. And we crafted an exit plan for me that worked very well. It took a while because things were so entangled. I was the president of the company then. There were so many things that were going on. And I moved out and we started Generation Youth. We started Generation Youth as an opportunity to pour into young people, to train them to be their best versions of themselves. We specifically targeted initially college students. And we worked with the Zig Ziglar Corporation out of Dallas, Texas, to really amplify what we were doing. We partnered with them on content and credibility in order to give the young people a need. As we grew, I was doing my own personal development and training through, you mentioned John Maxwell. I went to that as a personal development training. I don't necessarily teach his content because we've developed so much of our own. It was more I wanted to better myself, so that's why I went to his. And I've done the same thing with John Gordon and his resources as well, just to build it. But we've moved into providing resources for parents, providing resources for students who really want to thrive in this environment through books, through conferences, through speaking, through podcasting, through summits, any way at all that we can do to provide the resources, the content, and the tools that people need to help emerging generations thrive and really reach the level of success that they need to reach.
Wow, that is a lot, and that's again, I'm impressed because I've been in this space now for about 13 years. And I know it's really difficult to get to that level and do different things. And so when I see what you're doing and the passion you have for it, and just the years that you've been doing it and all the work, it's pretty darn impressive. And
well, thank you.
It makes me feel good that there are other people, companies that aren't doing it just say for like $1, but they really, I can hear in you like you really do enjoy this, and I do too. I love doing this and helping people. When I was in school, I didn't get that support. I didn't get those people to do things, and I wish I'd had I gotten that support back then. I probably would have made different choices in life. I would have had different mindset in life early on. So I came up through the school of hard knocks, if you will, like a lot of people. But I think I was kind of a late bloomer in some of those senses because I just had this mindset from early foundational learning and people in my life that you're going to go work in a factory. You're not going to ever go to college. You're never going to do much. And I believed them. What are some of the things that you can take away from the work that you've done? Like, have you seen, and I'm sure you have, like some of your success stories, kids that maybe came in doubtful or they had potential but they weren't sure, and then years later you see them like running a company or multiple degrees, or they're doing something in their community? Or what are some of the fruits of your labors that you've seen over the years?
There's a student that comes to mind immediately when you said that. It was my first. I taught at 2 different high schools, and the first high school that I taught at, he was one of our students. Came in. This was a suburban setting, but we were teaching them plant science and horticulture. So it was a new field for them. Most of these kids did not know anything about it. Well, this one young man, he loved golf. He thought he'd come in there and learn, a little bit about stuff that was there to help him maybe work at a golf course during the summer or something. But Patrick had a passion for learning. And so we encouraged him to do things. And his trajectory that his parents wanted him to do was to go into some kind of government work, civil service, either public safety, not necessarily a police officer, but something because that was a family trait and family tradition. Well, Patrick embraced this. He came to me and said, what opportunities are there to have? And we kind of mapped out his schedule. Okay, this is where you could go. This is how, when you graduate, you could go to possibly a 2-year school to get your feet wet, to see if this post-secondary education is really going to work for you, and then help you make the trip and make the jump to a full bachelor's degree if he would like it. And he agreed to that. His parents reluctantly agreed to that. Well, this is 25 years later, and Patrick is now one of the leaders in the entire state of North Carolina in the landscaping, specifically irrigation and turf business in there. He is a leader of the different types of commodity associations. He's been president of many. He worked up through one of the biggest companies in the section of the state that I lived in. One of the biggest landscape companies was their number one guy, so much so that they said, we'd love to have you here, but we think you would be better if we helped you start your own company. And now he has his own company, his own resources. And I was just someone who did not see, he really didn't see the potential. He really didn't see what was out there. And I'm not saying that I did all this for him. I only opened his eyes to what was available to him, showed him opportunities, showed him, okay, what you think you are now is not necessarily what you need to be. Mr. Ziegler says you are what you are and where you are by what goes into your mind. You can change what you are. You can change where you are by changing what goes into your mind. And so I helped Patrick change what goes into his mind. Instead of it saying, I'm locked into this, it was like, what can I do with the passion? Patrick did that, and he pulled along with him some of his friends who did not work for him, but they worked in the same industry did, and now they have, albeit much smaller companies, but they have their own little small businesses where they're in landscape and when they're in irrigation and lighting. So there were two others that kind of followed along and said, well, if Patrick could do it, to be sure, we can do it as well. They didn't achieve the level that he has achieved, but they are living extremely well, and they're doing it very well, being their own business people. And that is something that all of us that pour into young people really want to help them do is to thrive within the skill set that they're blessed with.
That's awesome. And I talk about this when I get young people, parents will come to me and say, my son's not motivated, my daughter's not motivated. They're too fixated on other things.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell parents all the time, your child is very motivated. It's just where they're putting that energy. And so I put it back on the parents. When it comes to motivation, I came up with a little thing years ago called priming the mind. And in my book, I describe it as an old Western movie. You got the old dry well in the middle of the field, but you got to prime that well to get the water to come up and enjoy the fruits of that water. Same thing with the mind. Like you were just saying, you showed him opportunities. You showed him different things to get him excited, to ignite that, if you will, and to prime that mind to think about other things. And this is an area where I feel like a lot of times young people, especially when they are at that point of graduating high school or college, or they're in between those 18, 24-year ages, they're not really sure what is out there, what resources. So what resources do you guys provide with your company to help people kind of, prime their mind, to find those passions, to find that next step? I know you've got like 6 books and everything. So what are some things that you provide that maybe somebody could check out?
Well, I think one of the primary products that we have is training adults who have a passion to work with youth, who have a desire to work with youth, and who want to be youth life coaches. We can certify them. That's been a long process in which we were asked to do this by external people outside of our organization who saw what we were doing, and they knew that adults wanted to do this. So being able to train an adult to help guide that young person, help coach that young person through, is really the major resource I think that we can provide them. If parents come to us and we can refer them out to coaches that'll help them, that's just happened this week, where we had someone in Dallas reach out to us randomly, found us online and said, "Can you help me find a youth life coach for my son?" And so we connected them to who we thought was the best fit based on that to help guide them through. So the networking that we have, the people who are in our organization who've been certified through us, that's our biggest resource is people in the things that they do there. Now they can come to us and they can get downloads to help, buy some downloads, have some free downloads to help them. But I really think us putting someone in their path to be that instrument to help get them to where they want to go,
Awesome.
That's the biggest resource that I think that we have.
Now, just so in case no one's ever heard of this term or they don't know what it really means, explain just what life coaching is versus, say, therapy, or just what a life coach can do for someone. So if they are kind of wondering, how can I help my kid as a parent? How can I help my son or daughter? If I want to become like a better parent, what can I do to do that? Or if I do want to set my son or daughter up with somebody, what are we looking for to help them as a life coach?
Mm-hmm. We're doing life coaching for both youth life coaching, and this fall we're releasing a new segment of parent life coaching as well, to help parents coach it as well. So, explain what a coach is. There's a lot of different definitions of what people say that it is. People think that life coaching is borrowing the term coach from sports, which actuality that's not how it actually happened. We like to explain in our certification what the original word coach meant. Where did it come from? What was the etymology of this word? What was the origin of it? So the original word comes from a little village in Eastern Europe, Central Eastern Europe, called Koch. That several hundred years ago, that Koch was K-O-C, village of Koch. They made ornate carriages, ornate wagons that would transport people in luxury. They were making the Lexus carriages of the time. And so they became known as the village of Koch, or Koches is what this product was made. They were known for making these. People all over Europe would buy them. The aristocrats, the rich, would buy these Koches from this village. That's what they termed them. Well, when they moved across the channel into England, the word became transliterated. Not translated, but transliterated, which means, well, hey, let's anglicize this word. Let's turn it into an English word. So coaches goes to coaches. So the original word coach is a mode of transportation. It helped you get from where you are to where you wanted to be. So what is a life coach? What is a youth life coach? It is someone who is helping a youth, maybe, and their parents along this time, identify where are they at right now in their journey. What are they at? What's their mindset like? What's their skill set like? What are their goals like? Do they even have goals? How do they view themselves? What are their relationships like? Let's do an assessment of where they are right now. All right, now let's figure out, where do you want to be? Maybe not where you want to be long term, but just as far as you can see. Maybe it's just season of your life, this year of your life, these next 6 months of your life. Where do you want to be at the end of in these particular areas? Mindset, self-image, relationships, those purpose. What do you want to do? And then you help them get there. Just the same thing as if you were in the old west of the United States and you were in an old western town and the stagecoach came and picked you up. First off, it's got to know where you're at, and then it's going to take you somewhere. It's got to know where you want to go. So you are in the transportation business as a youth life coach. You're helping them get them where they are to where you want to go. Therapy, other things like that, therapy, training, consulting, managing, all different aspects of that, deal with different issues. In regards to therapy or counseling, they're really trying to help a young person that may have had some trauma, something that has hindered them in their growth, something that's holding them back. Now, as a coach, you may talk about those kind of things, but if you uncover during your assessments, during your conversations of coaching, there's some deeper issues here. You need to have in your back pocket someone you can send them to that's a trained therapist. Coaches don't need to get into that kind of world. That's not what we're here for. We're about optimistic. And Christopher, think about it this way. You're a senior in high school. Comes over to the intercom in your classroom. Christopher, come to the office, please. Your counselor would like to see you. I might give you kind of a little bit of hot. What does my counselor want to see me about? This is not good. What if they called and said, come to the office, please. The coach would like to see you. The coach wants to see me. Well, not want me to start today. Or maybe wants to tell me that I'm doing a great job. There's just a mentality of I'm going to counseling versus I'm going to coaching. Going to counseling means there is something screwed up with me and we got to fix it. Going to coaching is, hey, I'm going to be doing some great things and this person's going to help me. So there's a mindset difference in there as well.
Yeah, it's funny. In the first episode, we talk about that, where there is kind of this stigma under therapy, but asking for help is important. Asking for help for a coach is important. And I really like the the origin you just gave, because I didn't know that. I probably should have, because to me, from a sports background, coach is someone. Well, I guess in the same somewhat world, they see something in you. They see your skills that maybe you don't know. And they bring those skills out of you to get you from this type of player to this type of player, and that's kind of their job, is to coach you along.
Well, it's interesting because the first time that the word was used as not transportation was at Oxford University, where students who had to take exams, exit exams, in order to graduate from university were having trouble with this. And so they needed tutors to help them get out. And they called these tutors, the slang term for these tutors were coaches, because they were helping them get the word. So it was a slang term. Well, that incorporated, hey, you got an academic coach, you got a tutor coach, whatever they were going to call him. It became a slang term. Well, fast forward almost 100 years, their crew team, the rowing team at Oxford, was starting to lose their dominance on that particular sport. And the team decided, you know what would make us better? Someone who could be not a part of this team, but could actually be over us and help us, guide us to where we need to be. We need one of those coach things. And so they reached out. That was the first time that the word coach was used in athletics. And of course, it's exploded since then. It went from a crew, now it's everywhere. Every sport has a coach. And then you go into the 1900s and people start having acting coaches, voice coaches, singing coaches, sales coaching, relationship everything. You can have a coach for everything. I mean, everything under the sun has a coach now for it. But it's all evolved from that first word of got to get you from where you are to where you want to go.
That's actually a great way to think of it. And one of the things that I find with young people especially is they do judge themselves heavily. So rewording something to make it sound less judgy or less damaging, or however it may be, is definitely a big help to get people to actually do this and ask for a coach and to be willing to listen. And this is going to bring me into my next thing. This is pretty exciting because I get to be a part of it this year. Tell us about your youth summit.
Well, our youth summit that we do every year is called Igniting the Next Generation, the Empower Summit. It's really to provide the resources, the tools, the content, the information that parents, teachers, and athletic coaches need in order to help their work with young people. Help a parent be we tell folks, you don't need to read 12, 13 parenting books. You need to come to the summit. And so we established this about 4 years ago. And the framework of how our summit works, the format of which it works, is people will enroll in the summit. They can go to ignitenextgen.com after July 1st. And they'll be able to enroll into summit for free. And then over a 2-week period, there'll be 30 powerful 10 to 15 minute presentations by speakers from all over the world who are specifically there to share their content on how you can help the next generation thrive, how I can empower these adults with the content they need, with everything they need, so they can help the next generation thrive. Now, that's not to say that youth can't watch these things as well. I think they'll benefit as well, but the specific target is that adults working with it. And we'll have folks talking about what to do with money, how we can teach money content to them. Specifically on maybe working with young girls. I'm just thinking through social media. There's so many different new topics of people coming through. I don't even know all the different things that folks will be sharing in regards to it. Helping them succeed, helping them, find better relationship skills, helping them find purpose in their life. How do you build a legacy in your family? All those aspects of that content is what we're looking for to be able to provide. Do you have to watch all 30? No. Every day you'll get an email with with a link to the list of presentations that are available that day to watch. You look at them, you pick the one you want to watch. If it's just one that day, that's fine. If you're so inclined to watch all of them, which could be up to 5 for that day, hey, knock yourself out. Some people will do that.
I think that's awesome. And I'm actually, as I told you already, I'm super excited to be a part of it this year, and be able to do everything I can to make my section worthy and helpful. I just think that things like this, we need to do more of this type of thing from like a community perspective as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're on a national level, and I'm here in Florida, but on a local level, when people are right there in a little town, what are some things that someone could do just real easy to help young people today? Because we're seeing all of this, and I probably am bad for this because I look at all the negative stuff and then try and figure out how to combat that. We've got teen takeovers. We've got just all these negatives are on the rise, from youth suicide to self-harm to crime to all these things are just really, really exploding in the youth population. And I don't think it's going to get better unless we as a community really do come together, like what you're talking about, and even narrow it down to a smaller, to your hometown. What can you do? Maybe you go volunteer and speak at your school. Maybe you start a sports league. Maybe you do an after school program. Maybe you just do something. But are you seeing any bigger picture things that we can do? Just everybody can jump in and help. Like, what are some things that people could do just right in their own local community to help their family, the kids around them, things like that?
Well, I think a lot of the community efforts, have a lot of great things that can help with folks. But I think one of the things that we miss across the board, that if I was advising local groups, parents, or anyone to do, is to understand really what is going on with the young person's mind. What is going on with their development? So often we look at it and we say, well, it is social media problems, it is depression problems, it is, isolation, it's all these different things, which really those are symptoms of what the core issues are. So we got to find out what the core issues are. Now, at Generation Youth, we interviewed 2,500 young people from across the nation in England. We asked them really simply, what's the biggest problem facing your generation? What's the biggest problem facing you? That question in some format or another. We recorded their answers, and we found 3 major buckets that almost all of the answers, I think like 97% of all the answers, could fall into. There were a few that were very, 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 very situation specific that didn't fall into anything, and it was just like, well, this is just this demographic of subset of people. But the major issues is, number one, is they struggle with their identity, their self-image. So any program has got to help them establish and answer the question first, who am I? That's why kids go to games, because that gives them a sense of identity. That's why they get involved with sports. It gives them a sense of identity. That's why they get a part of arts. That's why they get a part of any type of organization, is because it gives them a sense of identity. Number 2, the second biggest issue. Now, the respondents, these young people that we interviewed, they may have given us answers that fit all 3 categories. And most of the time, they would give more than one answer. They would just talk, because we not say, give us one. We would just say talk. But the second biggest answer was relationships. How do I get along with people? How do I get along with my parents? How do I get along with teachers? How do I get along with my friends? How do I get along with people romantically? How do I do all these things? We started asking these questions in 2015. And that was the second biggest one in our total thing. If we had redone those things, say post 21, after a year of COVID, relationships might have even moved to the front of the line. Mm-hmm. Because it is, how do we engage with each other? And that's why people join gangs. That's why they join clubs. That's why they join sports. They want to be involved with something. So they want to answer to the question, where do I belong? So number 1 question is, who am I? Second biggest question is where do I belong? And the third one is that they struggle with their purpose and the ability to set goals for that purpose. In essence, they're saying, why am I here? And what am I supposed to do in my life?
Yeah.
So, and we tell parents and we tell adults, do not try to help a young person, high school, college age, figure out what their purpose is for their life. That's ridiculous. I am 57 years old, And I don't think I was anywhere close to figuring out what my purpose in life is at age 21. It was just not there. But what you can help them do is help them find what is your purpose for this season of your life.
Okay.
What is it now for this next year? Maybe this time period. What are you supposed to be doing with the things you've been blessed with? And help them realize, how do I achieve those goals to do that? Now, those three things, Christopher, are so intertwined. They're like a Venn diagram. The you're building a positive self-image. You're going to have to focus on relationships. You're going to have to also focus on what their purpose is. There's some great books out there. I think Path to Purpose, helping young people find their purpose. It talks about you want to help them overcome depression, anxiety, all these things. Give them purpose, because that purpose gives them a sense of identity. That identity and purpose will help them make connections with friendships. These are all connected. So any program needs to focus on that. A lot of times, well-meaning people will design programs that just attack the symptoms. It's kind of like going to your doctor and you got a cough and he gives you something for your cough, but he doesn't do anything for what causes the cough.
Right.
And that's what I'm seeing too many programs do. They talk about, okay, we got bullying problems. Let's teach them how not to bully. Well, that's great. But why are they bullying? Well, they're bullying because they have a lack of self-image and they have poor relationship skills. Well, how about let's work about those? Let's fix that, and then bullying and peer pressure will take care of itself.
That's so funny. Everything you just mentioned, back in 2013, I started a nonprofit to combat teen suicide. And back then, it was bully victim. That was the whole dynamic. And as I began to look at things, I was like, well, what's causing someone to be a bully? What's causing someone to believe they need to be bullied, or they're not worthy of not being bullied? So as I began to question these things, I was trying to get into the schools back then, and I got pushed out of the schools because the schools did not want to talk about that subject.
Yeah.
So I would start doing it in different things, and that's kind of what led to the writing of this book 10 years ago. Because I wanted to get to the root cause of what's happening. And when I work with parents, we do a root cause analysis, we do a SWOT analysis, we do different things. The emotional iceberg, here's what you see at the top, but what's, beneath the surface. So I also like what you just said, those 3 points, because as human beings, we are social creatures. We want to be connected. We want to feel, and we want to contribute, and we want to have a sense of belonging. Not too long ago, I had a young man reach out to me. He's 21 years old, and he's in therapy. And he said, my therapist said I have to figure out my purpose. And I said, you're 21 years old. Like, I'm 59. I'll be 59 in a couple of weeks. And I'm still trying to figure things out. I mean, I know what I love to do, but life is an evolving journey. You're always changing and doing things. So to figure it out at 21 is kind of impossible. Now, back in the 80s, that was kind of the expected thing. You get out of high school, go to college, and that was your job for the next 35 years. And it's not possible. It's not practical. This doesn't work. So I love everything you're saying, and I want people to check out this, the Youth Summit. Tell us where they can find that. You said after July 1st. I'll put the link in the show notes, but go ahead and tell everybody where they can find this summit and be a part of this in a few weeks.
Well, the URL, the website, is going to be Ignite Next Gen. So Ignite Next Gen, GEN.com. That's where they can sign up for the summit. They'll be able to see the list of presenters. They'll be able to enroll in that and see some of the benefits for it. And then during the week, which is the last week of July and the first week of August, the first 3 days of those weeks, Monday through Wednesday, they'll get emails that'll say these are the presentations that are available. On that Thursday, we'll do a special opportunity for them to engage with some of the presenters who are available from the week. Not all of them will be there because not all their schedules are available, but some will be there, and they'll be able to listen to a live stream from those presenters. Excuse me. As they share about what their content was from the week, and they talk about each other. Just a conversation. You'll be able to drop in on that. maybe send a question or two. Sometimes we have people send questions or comments as we're doing the live stream, and they were able to respond to that. Then we'll hype it up again over the weekend, and we'll do it all again the following week with the second half of the summit presenters as well. That's the last week. So that'll be happening in next June. Definitely will be available on July 1st. Maybe available before then, before we officially announce it, if folks want to kind of look it up. But that's how they're going to reach out.
That's awesome. And then that's for the summit. Do you have any socials or any books you want to let people know about?
Well, if we're talking about folks who are in their going into their senior year, one of the books that we actually have 4 books. So even if they have high schoolers that are not seniors, freshmen through juniors, we have these. But we have these books that are the Ignite journals. The Ignite journals that are really 30-day journals to get that student started right on the right foot. So I had parents come to me about a year or so ago and say, Johnny and Susie are struggling. I don't know what to do with them to get them back on track. Or I don't know how to get them. They start school and they're still in summer mode, or it takes them a while to get going. How can I get them started on the right foot? So we developed these 30-day journals to guide them through some of the issues that we know that we're going to have. So we talk about their mindset, some of the week 1. Got to get them in that positive mindset, that opportunity mindset, that growth mindset. Then we tackle the 3 issues: self-image, relationships, purpose, and goals. As we go through, there's 5 to 10 minutes a day of content, a lesson to learn, and some reflection time for them to help get them on the right track going through. So awesome. For those who can see this and stuff, this is it's backwards. But that's the Ignite Journal for seniors. They're all color-coded. So they're like blue, green, red, and then this yellow one here, which is the senior one. They can find those on our website, generation-youth.com, under resources, or they could just look up my name on Amazon, and they'll find all 4 of those Ignite journals, plus all the other resources and books we have as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm super excited you came on today. I really appreciate your time and all that you're doing. I mean, even if I wasn't part of the summit this year, I'd say this. I'm super, super excited about that. But it's good to see. It's good to meet. And it's good to talk to other people in this line of work, if you will. It's not always easy. Sometimes you don't always see the fruits of your labor. You think, what am I doing? So for me, it's nice to hear and see all the things you're doing. And, I've got 2 books. I don't have 6 yet, but, I'm working on another one. But again, very exciting to meet you and to really dive into what you're doing. I can't wait to be a part of everything. And again, I really appreciate you coming on here. If you are a parent, if you are a young person, you want to know more about how to find James, you can always reach out to me at leadyourteen@gmail.com. Or you can go to the show notes here. I'll list all his links, and you can find information about the summit, his books, Amazon, everything else. And hopefully this will help you, help your young person to go to the next level and feel confident about the days to come. So with that, James, we'll wrap this up. Thank you so much, and we'll be talking soon.
Thank you so much, and thank you, audience, for sticking with us.
All right. See you later.